Well, Gail, thank you for that different introduction. This is what Barry and I are going to be talking about today. And we're going to talk about the faith leaders before, during, and after the Troubles, as that's what they're called in Northern Ireland and have been for the last 3 decades. And as Gail said, we're usually introduced together, and we do work well. And I'm Alan of the Barry and Alan team. We're both from Northern Ireland, or it's sometimes called the North of Ireland, the province, Ulster, the 6 counties, and it has many names depending on where you are. We're both from very working class communities. We're both about the same age. Okay. We come from from different sides of the political and the religious divide, and we challenge you today to identify which sides we're coming from. Okay. But we're able to work together. Barry has his aspirations, no matter how ridiculous they are. I have mine, okay? And at sometimes, you know, I just can't stand them, okay? Andy's a Manchester United supporter, which makes it even worse, okay? Okay, so this is basically us, if you can't identify us. Now, be serious now. I'm going to be serious now for a while. There has always been trouble in Ireland for, well, forever. But around about 1968, 69, this trouble developed into something more violent. Okay, and there was 3 decades of violence and of killing and murder. And I'm not going to go into why it happened, how it happened, who was to blame, or whatever, because it's in the past. But for 3 decades, this is what we had to put up with. I think you'll agree that they're pretty graphic pictures of what happened over those 30 years. We did eventually make peace, and I'll come back to that in a moment. The road to peace was long. It took us 20 years to make peace. It didn't happen overnight, okay? And in 1998, nearly 20 years ago, we signed the Belfast Agreement, or if you're on the other side of the religious divide, it's called the Good Friday Agreement. So we can't even agree what our agreements are called. Okay? And that sort of epitomizes what we're having in Northern Ireland, okay? So, I don't want to run on with this too long because it's very repetitive what happened before, but we did eventually get an agreement, okay? Now, Cooperation Ireland, where we both work for, we have identified sort of 4 stages of peace. And the first stage was the peacekeeping part. And that's where people like Cooperation Ireland, the police, the government, the churches in some cases, try to keep the violence to a minimum. Then we moved into the peacemaking phase. And this is where people started to talk to each other, where people were brought together. And I said before, 20 years this took, and then we had the Good Friday Agreement. We moved then into, because when we had the Good Friday Agreement, everybody in the world thought, fantastic, it's over, they've got peace. And they all went away. They all went back home. And that was the time when we needed help the most, because we had a very divided society, and we needed to bring the people together. Whilst we had the institutions made and the agreements and so on, we had not brought the people together. We, as Cooperation Ireland, are in that peacemaking phase, and we're trying to bring the people together. It's a difficult job. We're having some success at it, but not We still lots and lots to do. The fourth phase is the peace sharing phase. Northern Ireland was given money, help from everywhere, by everybody around the world and so on to help the situation. As an organisation, we feel that it's time to give some of that back. Now, you're not getting the money back, okay? We're not giving the money back, and that's definite, spent. But what we do want to give back is the lessons that we have learnt, what happened and what we can help, or what worked, or more importantly, what didn't work, okay? So, where did Northern Ireland's faith leaders in this? Where were they? Well, to be truthful, they didn't play a very big role in what was happening, okay? And they were conspicuous by their absence in a majority of times, okay? Mostly, this was a book that was written by three eminent guys. One's a psychologist, one's a humanist. They're university professors and so on. And they came up with a couple of rather damning statements about the faith leaders in Northern Ireland. One of them, and I'll quote, "Before the Troubles kicked off, the church didn't understand the role it was playing in terms of contributing to the divisions." Okay? Quick explanation, where churches were against mixed marriages, were against abortions, were against LBGT and so on. And then you had that before the Troubles kicked off, okay? They also didn't play they walked away from their moral responsibility as overall churches. And it was left to individual members of the churches to get stuck into, to try and do something to bring people together. And these were more mavericks than anything else, okay? Those are the guys who came out, and now let me see them. You'll recognize some of them, I think. These were individual members of churches who went out, brought people together. They got death threats. They didn't really get the support from the organized churches and so on. And they have been more effective than the organized churches in bringing people together for the last 20 years, okay? And with the sort of vacuum that was there with the faith leaders or organizations, we had the individuals. That vacuum was taken up and filled by organizations. Organizations that grew and developed by people of faith coming together or as a result of some atrocity. I don't know whether you remember the Peace Women, okay? These were two ladies who, well, the story is that Betty Williams, which is the one on the right there, that one on the right, was walking along, and she saw a young mother who was walking with her 3 children, and a car ran into them and killed the 3 children. The car was driven by an IRA member who had just been shot by the British Army. Okay, the 3 young children were killed. The mother was physically and mentally maimed, and she committed suicide a year later. And it was then that those 2 ladies there set up and organised and came out against violence and it came out against atrocities and so on, and they formed the Peacekeeping. They were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. I don't know whether anybody remembers them or not, okay? Other people, individuals, have taken it upon themselves to get involved, bringing people together, and so on. Inez McCormick, she was actually a Protestant. Her name was Murphy, and everybody thought she was a Catholic. And it happens quite often like that. But she was much of a socialist, a union leader, and she campaigned against the violence, etc., that took place in Northern Ireland. Okay. What I want to do now is I'm going to hand over to Barry, who's going to talk about the organisation that we represent, which developed during that period. One of the organizations that was brought about to fill that particular gap. Now, just in recap, the organized churches as such, we feel, did not step forward and give proper leadership, either individually or together, before the Troubles, during it, and in some cases after it. And it was left to particular individuals from those churches who stepped forward, and at great personal risk at times, to set up organizations and bringing the two people together. I'm going to hand over to Barry now, who's going to talk about our organization, Cooperation Ireland. Barry?
Good afternoon, everyone. Just want to say a few words about, obviously, our employer, Cooperation Ireland. Cooperation Ireland is an all-island peace-building charity. It was established in 1979 as Cooperation North. We have, for over 30 years, worked to promote interaction, dialogue, and practical collaboration within Northern Ireland and between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. While our role has evolved in line with the changing priorities for peace, some of the challenges that Alan actually highlighted earlier, at the core of our philosophy remains that getting people to work together for mutual benefit across religious, cultural, and political divisions will promote greater understanding, respect, and recognition of mutual interdependence. The photograph that you will see is quite symbolic because it is the former head of the IRA in Derry meeting the head of state, who's the Queen. The Queen happens to be our patron, but because of Northern Ireland's divisions, we have two patrons. We have the President of Ireland, and we also have the Queen. And that's to basically recognise the both traditions on the island of Ireland. But what Cooperation Ireland is all about, a peaceful and stable island where people of all backgrounds live and work together for a better future. Our mission statement, and I'll just go over some of this quite quickly. Our mission is to sustain peace by helping to build a shared and cohesive society. And we do this by working in partnership with others and where we're from. We include governments in that. We develop initiatives which address emerging challenges to peace, and there are many at this current time. We facilitate understanding, positive relationships, and cooperation within Ireland. I just want to give you an idea, just the graphic. Some of you at the back may not be able to see some of the detail, but this is just to give you a sense about, as an organisation, what we're actually responsible for. And as I've mentioned already, we work with many partners, lots of different groups and lots of organisations. We run 15 to 20 different programmes on average per year with a variety of groups. We work with 2,000 young people annually on a variety of projects. We work with local authorities. We work with towns and villages. And there are 1,000 plus adults that go through our range of projects, different types of projects every year. We also work with many organisations, including Global Peace Foundation. And we do believe that we have success in a number of areas. And some of these are the reduction of sectarianism, the building of trust between communities, community integration, community development. But this one is the one that I would like to focus on this afternoon. As I've said, we work primarily with the Protestant and the Catholic communities, and they are both Christian communities within Northern Ireland, but the main Christian community within Northern Ireland is fundamentally divided, and it's our role to try and bring those groups of people together. A big part of our work could be given the title or term community relations, or indeed, as we think it's best appropriate to describe it, as community engagement, where you're actually engaging intently with a group of people. So community engagement for us in the work that we do, it's about working collaboratively with community groups to address issues that impact the well-being, the harmony, the confidence, and the relationships of those groups. We work intentionally, as I've said. We talk, and we do quite a lot of that. We plan, we offer alternatives, and we follow a particular approach, which I will talk about more. Now again, I apologise, the diagrams are quite small on the screen, but we're happy to share some of this with you. But this approach, the community engagement approach that I'm talking about, has been developed through our own project work, and we refer to it as managed contact or developing confidence for contact. And as you know, within all divided societies, there is mistrust, there is intolerance, and the fear or the misunderstanding of the other. In our work, we provide genuine opportunities for these barriers to be dissolved, for different groups to meet, and for trust to grow over time. We have developed, through our own project work and experiences of working with people, and that was through our own project, both Alan and I worked on this. We worked actually with military families within Northern Ireland, and it was called the FACE project. We also, in collaboration, just making reference to the diagrams here, we have worked in collaboration with several academic institutions. We have developed and we have tested these models. And this particular model, we refer to it as the managed contact model. Our partners from Queen's University in Belfast have also referred to this particular approach as confidence in contact. Because you think about it, when you bring people together, you just don't put them in a room and expect things to happen. There has to be a development process involved. It has to be slow and deliberate, and we refer to that as this confidence in contact. The groups of people have to be ready to meet each other. This work, the work that both Alan and I are involved in, is the backbone and the underpinning pillar of our community engagement project. I'm going to give you some examples. Now again, these photographs are quite small, but this is just some examples of the work that we have done, and in each one of them you will see that people are being brought together, and that's basically what we do. So I'm just going to skip that one. So I'm here this afternoon to share with you this concept. Alan referred to it at the very beginning. We refer to it as peace sharing. So as Alan has said at the start of this presentation today, our troubles is one of the most widely researched areas of conflict in history and within the conflict resolution field. There have been numerous books, articles, plays, PhDs, and even Hollywood movies portraying and telling a story of our troubled past. We can share what happened, what we did, what we thought, what worked, and probably more importantly, what didn't work. This is the peace sharing phase of our evolving and lengthy peace process, a phase that is extremely important for us as we are advocating this here today with you. We can share what happened in a variety of areas, including the intervention or the non-intervention of a country and its faith leaders. And there's just a series of images here just before I wrap up. I do have 2 minutes left. So some of the words that we associate with peace sharing. So what can we share and what can we offer? So we're talking about experiences, what has worked, the role of the churches, mistakes, successes, recommendations, the duty of civic society, statutory bodies, what exactly do they do? And another key thing for a lot of people that I imagine are sitting here, how do you actually deal with the past? And I'm just going to, how we share these experiences, and this is obviously myself and Alan I'm referring to, consultation and advice, visits and presentations, discussion, hosting delegations, looking at democratic processes. There are many, many things that we can offer. It has not been possible to cover all that we do and how we've done this today. However, faith leaders' contribution, or in most cases, their lack of input, unfortunately, did not impact on the reduction or the condemnation of violence and killings within Ireland. We are both available if any of you want to have a conversation or a longer discussion about what we do. We are more than happy to meet and chat with you during the convention. Thank you very much, guys.